Hello viewers, Sniper Wolf 1001 here with another figure unboxing and review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the MegaHouse Precious Gems series Beelzebumon and Behemoth model from Digimon Season 3 Digimon Tamers. Now, back then when I watched Season 3, I always thought that Impmon and Beelzemon were pretty cool, so that kind of inspired me to actually pick this up. So with all that said, let's take a look at this. So taking a look at the box here, of course this is the front side, of course it's just displaying the model here in that pose. On the side here, just showing the model from a different angle, Beelzebumon and Behemoth. And then on the back here, it's just showing the artwork, which I believe this model is actually based off of, like the pose that they did with it. So that's pretty interesting. And then on this side, it's just showing different close-ups of Behemoth there. So with no further ado, I'll jump into this and open it up. Alright, so now that we have everything out of the packaging, this is essentially everything that comes with this. So of course we get our model of Beelzemon over here, we have Behemoth, and then we have one additional little piece here which is essentially supposed to be Beelzemon's tail. So I guess let's take a look at the model of Beelzemon here. So I guess I'll just mount the tail in real quick. So I believe this tail is supposed to sit upright, so you can see right there in the back that's the mounting section. So this should go in like this. Just like that. So the tail goes in pretty easily, no struggle. And then, of course, tail's going to increase Beelzemon's size just a little bit. But taking a look at Beelzemon here, you can see that his clothing is very nicely detailed here. You can see the colors are very nice. You know, it has that dark blue design to it, and of course you can see a lot of like the creases and stuff within the pants. Looking up here, you can see right up at the arm here, the colors are very nice. You can see that that nice shine coming off of the red bandana on the arm there, looking really nice. And then of course you can see that the leather of the jacket is very shiny, very reflective there, which is pretty cool. Taking a look at the face here, you can see that there is quite a bit of detail going on with Beelzemon's face. You can see that little smirk that he has there, that little smile there. Of course, the three eyes look very good as well, and I also like the coloration on his little helmet as well, because you can see that there's a beautiful color transition here, because you can see that right at the front it starts off as like a dark blue, and then as it goes towards the back it kind of turns into turns more into like a black. And then of course I like how his yellow or blonde hair kind of contrasts the rest of the helmet very nicely there. And then taking a look at the actual jacket here, you can see we have this white kind of furry section right here at the top, and then the design of the jacket is pretty nice here. As you can see, it's kind of flowing in the wind right here, so it's kind of lifted up, looking really nice. Of course the little gauntlets you have, very nicely detailed with the knuckles and everything. Taking a look at the back here, we have his other gun, his secondary like double-barreled gun here, mounted on his back with wire, I guess, which is a little odd, but still kind of an interesting design there. Of course, the tail is pretty interesting, very segmented, looking pretty cool. And then, of course, his other gun that he's actually wielding, looking very nice too. It's a very small detail, but I kind of like how, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that, but on the barrel of the gun, just as you get to the tip of the barrel actually has like a dark spot. So it's almost kind of like the barrel is kind of heating up each time he shoots, right? Looking down to his feet, the feet are pretty interesting, where he has like these three long spikes coming up from the toes. You can definitely tell that just by looking at Beelzemon, you can just tell he was definitely from a time period from when this kind of outfit design philosophy was a cool thing, you know, back during like, you know, the time of like Final Fantasy VIII, where you had characters like Squall and whatever who, you know, they were dressed up in, belt straps all over their body and a lot of leather jackets and whatnot. Beelzemon pretty much takes that exact same design philosophy here, which is pretty interesting. But overall, I'm really liking the way that Beelzemon looks. He's looking really cool. So now, taking a look at Behemoth. So Behemoth is looking really nice as well. So the thing that I find pretty cool about Behemoth is how we have this little red smoked windshield here on the front here. You can definitely see that there's stuff back there, almost like you can take a look at like engine parts or whatever right back there, which is pretty interesting. But of course it's smoked. You can actually move the front wheel of the Behemoth, which is pretty interesting. The wheels actually turn, which is pretty cool, although they are a little stiff. Like they're not going to spin. Like they're not going to spin freely, but you can actually rotate the wheel, which is pretty cool. I like the design here where it has like this this skull design here on the rim there, which is pretty interesting. They also have like an interesting design here too, with all of these little white dots here just in front of the windshield. So taking a look at the actual speedometer here, this was actually the thing that I thought was really cool looking at this online, which is how beautifully detailed the speedometer is. We have this nice red glass part here showing like the numbers and everything, and it's very clear, very bright. It's a really nice feature there. Looking at the handle has a nice texture to it as well too, as well as the hand brakes and everything else, like the various different buttons and stuff you can tell, as well as the wires coming down from the handbrakes, looking very good. So down here you can see, you can look down into the engine. You can see that the engine, there's actually a lot of detail going into the Behemoth here. You can see like the various engine parts even down through here, even though this is covered up by this little panel here. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and of course, you have the various pedals here, which is pretty interesting. And then of course the back wheel. The back wheel also spins, although this one spins a lot freer than the front wheel. So you can actually see this spins pretty nicely. The front wheel, not so much. But it is interesting. I didn't actually think that the wheels would spin on this thing. So that actually is pretty cool that you can kind of move this around like that. I like the texture that they put on the seat of the Behemoth here, because this actually looks like, it almost makes this look like a real like leather texture here, because you can see like the various like creases and like how some parts are like kind of like a darker red and stuff. It looks pretty realistic here just looking at the seat, so that's pretty cool. And the overall design of the body panels are kind of like almost like an olive drab green on this main part here, and then on the back as well here. And then taking a look at this side where we look at the actual mufflers, so you can see we have this interesting design here where we have this little cover which is kind of like stitched on or whatever, which then leads out into the mufflers. The mufflers looking pretty cool, and then just right back here, some pretty large mufflers here on the back. Also, another feature on the Behemoth here is that it actually has this little clear piece, which this actually acts as like a kind of like a stabilizer. So with that piece in, you can just put the Behemoth down like that, and the Behemoth will sit up by itself. You can even like move it around, and it'll always kind of like stay in position. However, you can remove this piece. So if you remove that, now the Behemoth becomes a little unstable. So it's kind of more, it's almost kind of like a kick panel or pedal, whatever, to kind of keep the bike up. So it kind of has that function there. So I guess that's there. I guess you can take it off if you want to actually like roll this around. But yeah, it has that feature there. So let's get on to mounting Beelzemon onto Behemoth. So in order to get Beelzemon onto this, the handle actually has a bit of functionality here. So you can actually pull this handle out just like that, and you can see it has like a squarish peg which sits in there. So we're gonna slide this handle into Beelzemon's hand here and then get him on the Behemoth. Alright, so I finally got my Beelzemon up on the Behemoth here. So now just taking a look at the model now that it's completely assembled, just taking a look at that little mounting spot on the handle here. So this is all mounted in, so this is a very easy attachment here. This just slides into the hand, and then it goes straight into the handlebar really easily without any struggle. So that's very good. And then, of course, with Beelzemon on the Behemoth here, I really like the way that, just the way that he's positioned here. So you can see that his left leg here is just over this kick pedal, and then his right leg here is just making contact with this one here. So that's pretty cool. And then another thing that I kind of like is if you take a look to the back of this model, I kind of like how his tail with it mounted in, how it kind of threads the needle right in between these two circular panels here. So that's pretty interesting. And with this all together, this is just a really cool pose. Like, I honestly don't think that there would have been a better pose for them to choose from with Beelzemon here. This is just really good. Just him sitting on the bike with him aiming his gun out is like, just looks really badass and it's very in character of Beelzemon. But yeah, this model looking really good. In terms of functionality here, there's not really like too much you can really do. Like, you can of course still rotate the front wheel while he's on it, but you know, it's going to kind of shift him out of position, and it's going to make things a little weird, so probably not going to really want to do that. Taking a look at that clear cover piece that I was talking about earlier, so if I remove this, so now, with this here, Beelzemon is not going to be able to sit up by himself without that piece there. So you're probably gonna want to have that on. I guess if you really wanted to just play around with this while he's on it, you can just kind of slide it from back and forth, since the two wheels do spin. Although the front wheels, like I said before, do have a bit of an issue with rotating. You can do that if you want to, but I think for me personally, I'm just gonna let him sit. I'm just gonna let him sit in place with that cover on, have the kick pedal on, and just leave it as a nice display piece. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in regards to the Beelzemon and Behemoth model from MegaHouse. Now, going on to my final thoughts here. Again, I can't really think of too many things that I dislike about this. It's typical of the Precious Gem series level of quality here in regards to the visuals here. The colors and the sculpt of Beelzemon just looks really impressive. Again, like, I think my favorite things on Beelzemon is definitely his clothing. I really love the way that the jacket looks. Like, even the individual, like the zippers looks really nice, and of course like the little the belt straps that he has going around his waist, and then of course the straps around the jacket, really cool. I also really love that bright red that he has on the bandana going around the arm, really cool. And of course the helmet was really great as well too, with that nice, it almost has like a bit of like a metallic-y, like shiny dark blue color palette up here at the top, which then kind of transitions into like a black. And then of course, like I said before, you have like the blonde hair kind of contrasting everything really nicely. So I thought that was really cool. Everything color wise and sculpt wise is really good, even down to the guns. Like the double barreled guns are really nice too. I really love the effect of like the burnt barrel tips. That is a really interesting detail that they have here. And on top of that too, his little leg holster here, pretty cool that they designed that as well too. Behemoth, I really love Behemoth. The fact that they really detailed that speedometer gauge on the top here is really cool, as well as like the smaller details, being able to see like the engine and the other stuff here, probably like the suspension that you can see going through like the little windshield. Very cool design. They actually put a lot of effort into designing Behemoth, which is pretty cool. And even the fact that the wheels can spin is really interesting, even though like I'm personally not really gonna be making use of this feature, but I think the fact that they actually made this the wheels actually functional, I think that's actually pretty interesting there. I guess if anything, if there is any flaw, I guess you could say that the front wheel is very stiff. You can't really move the front wheel as freely as you can the back wheel. So if there was to be a flaw in regards to this model, that would be this. That would be the wheel. Apart from that, it would be like the price. This was a little pricey of a model as well too. So those would be like the only things that I would say is a bit of a flaw with this. But besides that, everything else is good. The model, the colors, and everything is very beautiful. The pose, of course, the pose is perfect. Like honestly, it doesn't get better than this for Beelzemon. This is like what else would you do, right? This is just a perfect pose for him. And yeah, like everything else is just really nice. And of course, with Behemoth, this definitely increases the size of the whole display here really nicely, right? So you're getting a pretty sizable model with this whole set piece here, which is really nice. So yeah, that's pretty much everything here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys found it informative. There's definitely going to be a lot more figure reviews and unboxings coming in the future, and a lot more Digimon stuff. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that. But for now, I hope you guys stay safe, and I hope you all have a good day or good night, depending on where you are, and I will see you all later.